Hey guys, I'm back a little bit later than planned, but with another 10 metal bands you haven't heard but should. There's a nice mix of extreme stuff, heavy metal stuff, old, new. You know what I'm about now. So let's get right into it. First, we have Sortilège from France with their second album, L'Âme de Héros, or Tears of Heroes, I believe. I love this band and everything they've done from the first EP to the Metamorphose debut. And for me, this is the absolute best, personally, although that opinion kind of changes around. This is the High Roller reissue. Of course, this is the French spoken edition. I don't know why, I just think these things, they just work in their original language, and the translated version kind of loses something. Also, I saw these guys at Keep It True Festival in April, and I think it was one of my probably top 3 live shows ever. It was just perfect, and yeah, really cool classic band that I think deserves maybe a bit more of the, not like mainstream at all, but like the kind of legendary cult status that bands like Riot, Medieval Steel, those kinds of bands get. I know Sortilège kind of is spoken of in the same breath, but maybe just a bit more because goddamn though, the first 2 albums in the EP are just perfect. Next we have Demon Spell with their Evil Knights mini LP on Dying Victims. Now this mini LP, just kind of everything about it just feels almost like a renewed version of the Merciful Fate mini LP, the first one, and it's just something really eerie and kind of occult heavy metal feeling to this that I just really like. The riffs are really strong. The vocal melodies feel really well thought out. They're not just kind of lazy, I don't know. Everything about this is just cool. Like these obsessed maniacs from Italy present horror and evil in its purest 80s heavy metal form debut mini LP. And yeah, I think that sums it up. It's just dark, eerie, creepy heavy metal. Very like kind of early 80s Merciful Fate feeling to it, which obviously I love. Next we have Sextrash. I'm sure YouTube's going to love the artwork for this one, but never mind. It's the I Hate Records reissue. Now this is probably one of those bands, if you're into extreme metal, like kind of past the surface level, you probably already know, but I think when you compare them to maybe Sarcophago, Volcano, even like Holocausto, obviously Sepultura being the big name, Mutilator, a lot of the other Brazilian bands, I feel like Sextrash maybe just a little bit less spoken of, and for no good reason, because the debut album is just really killer, crazy death thrash. And then this second album, which is my personal favourite, kind of almost goes more towards what Mortem from Peru were doing, with that kind of just savage, really intense death metal, super evil, just super kind of bludgeoning sound, really crushing production and stuff. And yeah, I really love both, but for me, this one slightly wins over. These guys played London recently, which was really cool. Like, they're not a band I expected to see, let alone so locally. Yeah, Sextrash. If you love your Brazilian underground extreme metal, Sextrash is an absolute no-brainer. Now, another band from Keep It True this year I was really lucky to see is Sabbrabells from Japan. This is their live record. This is the only thing I have by them. I need some of the full lengths, actually. But yeah, I managed to get this for a reasonable price. Nexus original. And yeah, this is just really cool Japanese heavy metal. It's got a really good live sound on this one, as a lot of the Japanese live records do. They just seem to have such amazing sound engineers working on these things to capture the feeling of it. And I think the artwork tells you what this is going to sound like. It's just really cool, over the top. You know what to expect from Japan. Really interesting songwriting as well. Now we have Goliath from Spain. So thank you to Black Legion Records for giving me this. The dude just ran over to me at Keep It True and was like, hey, I have something for you. And that was really cool of him, because this is really cult Spanish heavy metal from, I think, 1985, I want to say. Doesn't actually have the year of recording. Maybe I'm wrong. But yeah, I think Spanish, French, those kinds of, Latin influenced languages just work really well to give a passionate vocal sound in heavy metal that is sometimes lost on English, Northern European languages and stuff. Yeah, Goliath is a really cool example. This was completely new to me. They're one of those, just relics that happened to be reissued. I happened to get one, and I feel very lucky. And yeah, I put it on the turntable when I got back from Keep It True. Instant fan. I was like, this is very much the kind of thing I enjoy listening to. Now we're going to move over to some CDs. So first up we have our first extreme metal release, and a band that I'm really surprised I've not talked about at this point, considering I've talked about members other bands, and a Helicopter has just decided to make an appearance in this video. But I'm talking about Spirit Possession with this is their debut album. Both the albums are really cool. I think I like this one slightly more. It's just a bit more like the riffs have this kind of Celtic Frost kind of touch to them. But they're all over the fretboard, which I really like. They're very negative, plain kind of that kind of corner of black metal, which I really like. It's on Profound Law, of course. And yeah, just really crazy, out kind of out of left field black metal with a really unique feel to it, at least as far as I'm concerned. Like, you know, when I say they're in the negative plane school, it doesn't just feel like they've listened to negative plane and gone, hey, we can do that. You know, there's definitely their own touches going on. I'm yet to see these guys live. I've seen the members in other bands, but yeah, very, very cool stuff. And I'm really surprised that they were a band I kind of only got into a couple years ago maybe, and they're one of those I'd heard the name and just, you know how sometimes a band just misses you by even if you're exposed to it. But yeah, I'm glad I joined the very legions of fans. It sounds like there's something interesting happening outside. I do apologize if you guys can hear that. Anyway, next we come back to France with ADX and their Execution album. I went down a real rabbit hole of listening to a lot of French heavy metal after the Sortilège show. You know, Ash Bomb, High Power, etc., etc. There's so much cool French heavy metal, and I think this is probably just below Sortilège's stuff for me, but very closely behind it, along with like Demon Eyes and stuff like that as well. And yeah, this is just really melodic, speedy, heavy metal. Again, it's all in French. This is really nice reissue as well. You get some nice kind of extra content with this Fart Records version. And yeah, I think French heavy metal for me is becoming one of my favorite variants of 80s heavy metal that I've just really enjoyed going down that rabbit hole. A lot of the bands have pulled me back. You know, they're not just like you listen to them once and go, oh, this is kind of cool, and then never to be heard again. Like ADX is a regular spin, Demon Eyes, High Power. I'm trying to think of some other good examples, and my brain has gone blank, as it always does when there is a red light. So now we will go across to Mexico with Phantom, who have just released Tyrants of Wrath. I think these guys are really cool. You know, they're super young dudes. They're playing really cool, speedy, thrash kind of mix, very traditional heavy metal rooted. There's this cool kind of Castlevania artwork style on all their stuff. Megan LeMay doing this one, who you probably recognize stylistically from like Cruel Force, Sex Mag, other really good bands that I've talked about. I think there's something to be said of if you regularly see an artist popping up with lots of bands you like. And yeah, Tyrants of Wrath is really cool. It's quite long for the style. I think maybe that was the only thing that I would personally change, is just make it a bit more concise. But you know, that's just my opinion. It's not my band. And yeah, the songs are killer, so what's not to love? Next we have Alien Force from Denmark, who I got to see twice this year actually, which was very lucky. I saw them at Keep It True, and then I saw them once again in Denmark at Metal Magic Festival, which for me was just even cooler. I don't know if maybe it's because it was a home crowd for them. They were speaking in Danish, or what, you know, something just made them seem a bit more comfortable, and as a result, the audience as well, obviously being primarily Danish, kind of gave so much energy to them. It was a really special experience, and I think, you know, along with like obviously Merciful Fate and stuff, but you know, with like Witchcross, Mirage, I think Alien Force is one of the top Danish heavy metal bands ever. Hell and High Water is an untouchable album. It's really, really memorable. Much like with Witchcross and Mirage, I think there's a very British kind of, especially new wave of British heavy metal similarity, I guess. There's something parallel with how the Danish and the British write heavy metal that, say, Swedish bands, I don't find that so much, but I don't know, maybe that's why I really love Danish heavy metal as much as I love Swedish. Anyway, talking of Swedes, we have Tyrannosatan, which is my friend Gustav's band, along with two other guys I have yet to make the acquaintance of. This is their new Babylon Shriek. I guess it's Babylon Shriek would make the most sense, on Gustav's own Jawbreaker Records. This is just really cool, like black thrash, very Niflheim, some kind of Gehenna, some death thrash stuff creeping in there. It's just super evil extreme metal from Sweden. Yeah, really like that one. They were very cool live, and they wear capes, which is always makes me think of bands like Tormentor and stuff, which is never a bad thing. And yeah, there's definitely like an Eastern Bloc kind of touch to their music, which I really appreciated. So yeah, that's 10 metal bands you haven't heard but should. As always, please go and support these bands, the labels. Thank you for bearing with me on the new video. These aren't as regular as I'd like them to be, but you know, I have the website I'm writing, the fanzine, my own bands. You know, my band Sataniac is preparing to play with Butcher soon, so busy times. And yeah, thank you to everyone who bought this Sataniac tape, the Razor Forge 7-inch, the tapes from my other bands like Dungeon Shaker and Demonic Moon, which is a new one. There's no digital trace of the latter, so either buy the tape or don't hear it. That's just going to be that. And yeah, thank you guys for the support as always. And there's some cool stuff coming up, so see you out there. Stay metal.